Hello, welcome to Leap Taken. I'm Mika, and here at Leap Taken, I talk about all things witchy, craft related, law of attraction, manifesting, esoteric, and everything else in between. And this is a video I want to talk about low maintenance magic, but in a different way than that's usually talked about. So, usually you get a lot of tips for lazy days when you want to do some magic, but maybe you don't have a lot of energy, or you're just, there's just, you don't have it physically to put into the spell, but you still want the results. And I think we've probably seen a lot of those videos, and I'll definitely be adding more to that eventually as well, making more videos like that, because I think those are fun, and I think they could be super effective because life be lifing, right? But let's talk about the other side of that. You can have your practice be whatever you want it to be. You can have a practice filled with rituals that are really detailed and intricate and, just a lot more to it than other rituals. You can be doing something very elaborate. Or you can do something very low maintenance, or maybe it's everything's very low maintenance, very low energy, like rituals and spell work and things of that nature. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm setting this up for a reason. There is nothing wrong with that. You can do whatever kind of ritual you do. I am not here to tell you that you're doing something wrong. You already know where I'm going. You're probably getting a feel for where this is going. However, I also just like to share that what you put in consistently is what you get out. So if you're consistently putting in low effort, low energy, just enough, you need to understand that if that's kind of your baseline, that's your norm. I hate to be the one to tell you this, but maybe don't expect too much on the back end. Sometimes it works. I have gone through, first of all, not just through, but throughout my practice, there are times I just do the quick thing. I like that. I do something intentional. It's a ritual with a black candle. I've talked about this a lot here, where I like this black candle because I'm using the concept of color magic, black absorb. So in my case, my intention is for that candle to absorb any negative energy, other people's stuff that I might have absorbed, anything that it's not going to help me in that moment. I go to my altar and I burn this black candle. So that is what the intention of is, the black candle. It's a very simple thing. I don't have to say anything. I just light the candle. And, that's it. It's the spell and the ritual. Technically, that's low energy, right? Working, there's nothing else to it, just to light it, and I know it works. That is something I do pretty consistently. What I'm talking about is once we're past you doing something like that, and that might be it. You don't do anything else that involves too much energy. And spell work, just to be clear, can be helpful in solving our problems. And I think this is actually an important takeaway. Spell work can be great for our money problems, our love problems, our self-love problems, health problems. When you think of witchcraft, a lot of times it was used for healing of actual health issues, physical issues, and just situational things and problems. Spell work can also be for celebratory reasons. It can be, or I shouldn't even say spell work. Magic can also be just for offerings, just for the sake of doing it. You have these talents, this skill, you have these abilities. You can just learn to utilize it and learn to just work it. And you can take pride in that and celebrate. For instance, making sleeping bag, little potions or even little baggies with herbs to put under your pillow for the sake of just having a good night's rest. It's not that you're having trouble with sleeping. It's not something you need. But just to honor yourself, just because you can, because you have the knowledge, you put that knowledge to work and you say a little charm over it and you put it under your pillow. you're not, again, having problems with sleep. It's just to have an enchanted bag of herbs under there because you can. And also, it's honoring, honestly, your ancestors, the spirit realm as well, actually utilizing this magic that you have. And the magic is also in the knowledge that you have of knowing which spell, which herbs to use and all of that sort of stuff. Uh, just doing regular things around the home to maybe protection. You don't have any known enemies. You're not being threatened, but you just do it just because. My point is, I think sometimes we get caught up because of the lifestyles that we live in the modern world. Everything is go, go, go fast. So we kind of get accustomed to just moving very fast and wanting a quick solution. We can Google, we can get the answers. So when we're talking magic in 2024, we're talking about, getting it quick. Everything's fast and doing that spell and it happens right away. And listen, I love when spells work quickly. I'm impulsive and I'm also an impatient person. So I advocate for quick spell work. I like a quick turnaround with my spells. Usually if I'm casting a spell, I do want it now. Even if it's something I'm saying I went down the road, deep down, I'd really want it to magically happen right this second. So that's who I am. So I totally understand that. However, realistically, that's not going to be the case for most of us when we cast a spell. Usually the more of the result, it usually takes a little bit more work depending on if something was already in the works. If you've already been doing certain things to get you to the point to get to the next level. A good example with this is, you want to have a career. You want to have a career in a specific industry. So if you're casting a spell to get you to that place, there's obviously some things you're going to need to do to get there. The magic that you would want to cast, the spell you want to cast, is maybe to open up the road, a road opener spell, something along those lines for you to get there, something that clears a path that could get you there. That's the kind of magic. Realistically, you're not casting a spell to overnight, let's say, have a career in medicine. Well, you would need some training, right? You would need to learn how to have this career in medicine. So you would want a path to help you get there. So if you don't know where to start, all of a sudden the universe can start, you'll see ads or someone will just mention nursing school or getting it, maybe you need to start at the beginning and get a college degree or something like that, depending on, whatever it is you want to do. Or you already have the degree and you haven't worked in a while. You want to get back into it. Okay, so maybe there's a certain connection that needs to be made or something like that, or take a couple classes. The point is, maybe you're just not sure. Casting a road opener spell would be the best way to approach that. The point is, though, overall, magic, it could be like that, but it depends on what it is that you're casting the spell for. So casting a spell just for the sake of casting spells, I advocate for that. I think a lot of times, as I mentioned, we kind of get thrown off a little bit on remembering as witches, you can cast spells, right? So we tend to lean into the low effort type work. If you're continuously doing low effort magic, I think it's not good for you overall. I think that some of us, and I see it, people who do have the knowledge on witchcraft and a lot of various topics that fall under witchcraft, eventually you notice they just all of a sudden don't seem to be doing anything. I remember someone I followed years ago here on YouTube, and this is way years back, many years back, before I was on YouTube, actually doing anything on YouTube. And I was, watching videos. And I remember this person had been on for some time. Their channel had been in existence for quite some time. And I remember them saying they don't even cast spells because the spells that they cast worked. And, basically they have all they need. And it's very, they don't do magic in that way anymore. They don't feel that they have to. Basically, they've evolved from needing to light a candle, use some herbs, oils, all of, the items, the tools and things of that nature, elements, working with nature, organics and things of that nature to cast spells. It's all just in their mind now. And at the time, I remember being really impressed with that. Like, wow, so you get to the point in magic, in practicing magic, you don't even need to do any of the tools or things like that. Now, years later, one thing that I realized is, and I can't speak for this person, but since then I've come across some other witches. And a theme that I have picked up is that those who do, honestly, it works on both ends of the spectrum. Sometimes if you're very extravagant and you're doing the most with every ritual, every spell, it can feel daunting if for life changes and you don't have time to do all that and they become disenchanted with magic altogether. And then if you're on the low energy, low effort type work in magic as well, they also eventually lose interest in magic because there's only so much invested because you're only doing low energy type workings anyway. At some point, you got to kind of get up the scale a little bit, kick it up a notch, find that balance though, where you're investing more energy into your work, into your spiritual practice. If anything, just for the sake of doing it because you can. It's an honor to the women that came before us who had herbal knowledge and were labeled witches. It's an honor to those of us who came to this country, our ancestors, with their own spiritual practices, knowledge, and know-how. That, for the most part, would be considered pagan. They may not have referred to themselves as witches because it may not have been in their language, but they were casting and convening with spirit realm. Yes, and they had knowledge of the universe in an esoteric way as well. So, and a scientific way as well, by the way. But to those who couldn't practice, it's an honor to them just to cast spells, to do rituals, and to just live out loud, out of the broom closet magical lifestyle. It's in reverence and honor to them. It's one of the things that I take pride in. Whenever I get into a magical slump, and that's eventually all of us if you've been practicing for a while, and a magical slump essentially is you just you don't feel like it. You don't feel like doing anything for the upcoming full moon, the rituals. You just don't feel like it. And that could be for various reasons. You were very busy, you're working on other stuff, kids, family, husbands, wives, you got sick, they got sick, the holidays. It could be a host of reasons. And next thing you know, you look up, you've missed several moon cycles. You haven't given yourself a reading. You haven't visited your altars, and it's just been a very long time that you've actually practiced anything that remotely resembles being a witch, right? So that's a slump, and I've unfortunately visited those spaces. I've been there. I think it says a lot that the more effort you put into your work, the less of those slumps happen. I used to do low energy type work in the beginning because I was afraid of everything, because I had some leftover Christianity stuff that I thought I was done with, but until I attempted to actually start getting further into magic, it would come up, oh no, you're not done. You still have to let that stuff go. So I did some shadow work, a lot of releasings. You don't know what you don't know. I didn't know until it came up that I still have some residual fears and dogma attached to my ideas of spirituality and magic and witchcraft and all that sort of stuff. So initially, the type of magic I would have been doing was low effort because anything more honestly scared me to death. So I didn't want to do it. And then once I, worked through that, it was more about, I had this desire to put more energy. And energy, let me just explain that. More energy into the spell work looks like, it's going to look different. It can mean physical energy, meaning you spend a lot of time just bringing up energy before you even get to the work. For some of us, that's chanting. So first, it's movement, it's dance, it's using instruments, it's clapping your hands. For some of us, it's doing actual pre-ritual work that looks kind of like a ritual as well. Meditation, things of that nature to raise energy, whatever it is. Um, Smoking, some people actually like to have a little something to smoke. Sometimes you make a little special potion for yourself. Whatever it is that you need to do to raise that energy, you raise that energy. Once you do that and you get into the actual ritual or spell work or whatever it is that you're doing, the advantages to doing that, by the way, is you're coming with more at stake. In my experience, I've had more success than not. I definitely could do something very quick and I can have some success. But typically, I have more success when I put the actual energy behind it, meaning I've gone as far as to grow my own herbs, put my intentions in the seedlings that I planted. As I watered them, I spoke a certain intention into them. You cut those herbs, use them. Let's say if I dried them out, then I use those herbs when I put them in oil. I purchase the base of the oils. Like, I prefer to use avocado instead of olive. Avocado oil is not very expensive, but it's not exactly cheap either. And I believe the monetary investment, which there's energy involved in making that money. So I invest that. That's more energy invested because money is currency. Therefore, there's its own energy toward it, right? So I invest that. And then I invest time in crafting this and putting all this together and creating a charm and or the spell, the words that I would speak over it. I invested the energy on the know-how and the knowledge of knowing when to do this. Do I want to do this during a new moon cycle, a full moon cycle, waning, waxing? Do I want to do this on a specific high holiday? Do I want to do this during a specific season? Yeah, all that is energy that you put into it, that I put into some things that I do. And my intention, and there's intention behind each step. That's more energy. Now, you might feel differently. You might feel that putting more energy into it involves having an entire altar that you dedicated set up, and there's a bunch of candles burning, and you have on your spiritual robes and things of that nature. Maybe it's your hair, your makeup, taking a spiritual bath ahead of time, having more ceremonial type magic rituals set up that you plan to do. Maybe it's working in a coven and having other energies present. Maybe you always do certain things where you petition your patron goddess and things like that you work with, and they have to be part of it. I work with Hecate, so I might want to bring her in more whenever I cast or do anything magical. I want to first do that, or maybe it's your ancestors. That's energy as well. That's putting more energy into it compared to, as I described, more like my thing where I just light the candle and I know it works. Not bad or good or anything like that, but I'm making an argument that the more energy, however that looks like for you, the practitioner, you put into the work, you raise the stakes a little bit more. Bigger risk, bigger reward. And when I say risk, for some of us, it's a risk to do that level of work. It's not, if we're honest with ourselves, not necessarily just about time and physical energy to do it. For some of us, putting that amount of energy into something and just wanting to believe it's going to work is a huge step. It can feel scary. Buying items, putting your money out there, putting your time into something, setting everything up, and you feel like, I hope I'm right about this. I hope this really works, right? I know I used to do that. I hope I'm right about this, because otherwise I've invested a lot of time and money into something and was it for nothing, which is not good, by the way, to have these thoughts as you're casting the spell, whatever it is that you're doing, whatever working you're doing at that time. more to come about how to deal with that. I've talked about that in the past, so I'm ready to do an update on better successful spells. But anyway, in the meantime, putting that energy actually is helpful to get over that, and just take it step by step. Each portion of that working that you're doing matters. How you source your herbs. Start thinking about that. What are you going to wear? What is the time frame that you're working in? Is it nighttime? Is it daytime? Maybe a certain time. Like just start with those things. And if you have been practicing for a while, there's a lot of witchcraft 101 books where they talk about this sort of stuff. So a lot of us know this, but it's a lot, to keep up with it. And it gets really comfortable just to do something really quickly. But again, my argument is that, are you going to do that all the time? What do you think is going to happen over time if it's always taking the quick way all the time? Maybe put a little bit more energy into your work. Maybe your spirit communication. Maybe when you just, not because you're asking for something from your ancestors, but maybe just opening yourself up to them for the sake of just communing. Maybe they have a message for you. Maybe it's not something to get you money. Maybe it's not something to help you find love. Maybe it's just something for you. Maybe they just want to tell you how proud they are of you. Maybe you just want to give them a thank you for looking out for you. Not because you want something, just because. I'm just saying. And just give that a try, and taking the energy and a time out to invest in your practice for the sake of just doing it. Right? And putting that energy into that. I'm just saying. And then when the time comes and the needs arise where you do need, to do something, and maybe you need to do it quick, that pre-work might be helpful to maybe when you do the quick stuff. Maybe that's the secret on why those quick spells work, where you just light a candle and it just works. Because you already have an established practice and traditions and routines and rituals that you do, that you have invested in. Does that sound like a foreign concept? I've been putting this into practice, so I'm going to tell you, I think that's kind of how it works for a good amount of us, whether we want to admit it or not. I know no judgment, whether we want to admit it or not. I'm just saying, maybe you want to consider that. Just putting a little bit more energy into your work, making a commitment. I'm going to be someone who reminds you to build a tradition, build your own practice. For some of us, even if we've been practicing I made this conclusion years ago. Even though I had been practicing for some time, I realized I needed some level of structure. So I wasn't just doing low energy type magic all the time. Doesn't mean it didn't work, but it didn't always. It's quick, and I felt like it's kind of a thing where what I used to do early on, I wanted to see if I could. So I would cast like a spell to just get $50 and see if I get $50 that day or something like that, or by the end of the week, just something small, or just find money. And, you're walking and see a penny or something like that. Or, you got a coupon for somebody, I got like a gift card, a coupon or something like that, and a week it added up to $50. And I was like, technically I got $50, that sort of stuff. And that's great. And that's fun to try those. And I do actually, especially in my mentoring program, I suggest maybe doing stuff like that because that can be helpful to you, especially if you kind of fell out of being enchanted with witchcraft a little bit, and you have a calling toward it, but you're just not there and you would like to be. In my advanced witchcraft course, that's something I talk about. Let's get back to those basics that when you were excited about practicing magic, and let's see if you can do it. So I do advocate for that as it arises, but also overall, the goal is for you to be building something bigger, to be building an actual practice, and something that becomes sustainable over time. And this, just to kind of expand on that thought a little bit more, as you grow and as we get older and as life continues on, challenges arise, and just life events, death, marriages, divorces, births, and just loss, because there's the modern world that we still have to live in and contend with as well. So navigating that, and for me, I'm obviously going to speak for myself. Navigating that and having such a deep practice that I truly believe in, I truly has been centered in my life in a prominent way, has been helpful to navigate those things. Um, Death is a big one. Death and loss is a big one. Health scares, things of that nature. Believing that my spells to protect me from COVID works has been very beneficial. Having a jar set up of protection in my house, having things for my physical safety as well, having set up is beneficial, as well as I just navigate the world as a woman. Um, it has helped, and like I said, in times where there is just, it's overwhelming, loss, death, loss. That could be, that's the one that's really overwhelming. And understanding and having a true connection with my ancestors, and having them affirm and reaffirm and confirm their existence in my life, and that it's real. There is more than just this form. There's more to us that moves on. Um, Knowing that makes it less scary, and less overwhelming. Uh, it doesn't mean you don't miss someone when they're gone. It doesn't mean you want to give up your life. It just means that you're aware there's more. You don't have to be afraid. And when someone you love goes, there is loss and you miss them, but you don't have to contend with there's nothing else. Like, that's just it, they're gone forever. Um, you know, it for me personally, that has changed my life. I used to really be afraid of the concept of death, as if I could change it. And actually that made me even more terrified. I was terrified for most of my adult life of dying. People who know me know, like, I very real fear. I didn't want to talk about it. I would get very emotional. Just anybody I loved, myself, my mom, like, I would freak out thinking about it. So I've come a long way, and that is because of being a practicing witch and just gaining the knowledge over time. And it took me years to get to a space of even opening up to the concept of ancestors. They actually showed up for me when I needed them. I didn't reach out to them. They reached out to me when I needed them the most. So there is something to be said for putting in the energy into your practice, into being a practicing witch, and actually practicing your magic, and giving it your all, and really investing your time and energy into it. There's something to be said for that. Um, and it's living a magical lifestyle. It's getting that magical boost sometimes when you need it, when you don't have the energy. All that work, all the communion you've done with the universe, with the ancestors, with the spirit realm, with the deities that you work with, you've already solidified your place, so to speak, right? They know you, you know them, and yeah, it's beneficial that way. So I just wanted to share my little witch tip on why it's important to invest a little bit more into your magic. And it's not the end of the world to do more low energy, what we call lazy witches. There's nothing wrong with that. The problem is if you're consistently doing that, I think it can become a problem. You could become disenchanted with casting spells altogether, with being a witch or practicing witch. It's not that you stop being a witch, you're just not really doing much of anything. Like that woman I talked about, I think in the end, because I watch her content, I think she just got tired, bored with it. And in her mind, she was convinced she could just do everything in her mind. Now, could she? Yes, but I've been doing this for some time, and there is something to be said for just being able to just speak a charm or send out an intention. That's where we're getting into like the manifesting thing, law of attraction, all of that. There is definitely something to be said for that, and I'm not saying that that doesn't work, because it does. However, again, over time, I do think there's more to it than just having it all in your head. I think it's more to it than just maybe just speaking some words. I think there's a little more to it than that. And I think that there's an advantage for putting more into it than just that. Hopefully that makes sense. I don't want to sound like I'm being too preachy, or I'm saying someone's doing something the wrong way. I'm just telling you from experience, my own, and the many witches that I've met, the more energy you put into your practice, the better your practice will be, and then you can thrive as a witch. All right, I'll leave it there. So thank you so much for watching. I'm Mika. This is Leap Taken. Please go ahead, like, subscribe, share, consider hitting that join button to join Leap Taken membership. It is a wonderful, basically Patreon here on YouTube. There's perks, and it supports the channel. There's excellent perks, and it also, again, supports the channel. And also consider going to my website, leaptaken.com. You can check out the services that I offer there as well. And if you have any questions, let me know in the comments. All right, thanks again. Bye.